Manx Radio's update with Lewis Foster.
First, welcome along to Update on Manx Radio. It's 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th of February. Lewis in for Beth once again as we take a half-hour look at all the latest news from the Isle of Man. Coming up, we have the latest on the assisted dying bill as members of the House of Keys return 3 amendments back to the Legislative Council. Manx businesses explain what they're doing to adapt to a world with AI. And keep your eyes on the skies this week and you may be in for a treat. We'll explain more later in the programme. All that and more, plus business, weather and sport, and what to watch out for on the roads. Let us know your thoughts as ever, 166 177, or email studio@manxradio.com. We'll start as always with the latest headlines from Christian Jones. Fastamai.
Manx Care's new medical director will join the organisation next month.
I'm pleased to say he's a really enthusiastic and has done considerable amount of work in that space. So that fits into our quality improvement aspirations.
Dr Chris Stockport comes to the island's healthcare provider from a health board in North Wales, where he's a GP and executive director of primary and community care. The Isle of Man's first AI readiness survey has revealed growing workplace adoption of artificial intelligence, particularly among the younger professionals and managers. The report's collected responses from more than 600 residents with a focus on workplace insights. Ramsey commissioners are urging people not to fly tip ahead of the Northern Civic Amenity sites closing at the end of March.
Is there a better model? Is there a better way of doing things? That's what we're thrashing out in the minute detail. Ultimately, I hope that direction will come from the DOI and the MHKs in terms of legislation as to this is what you must provide and this is how you will pay for it.
That's Chair Rob Cowell, who hopes a resolution can be found. The local authority says it'll take firm action if any incidents of illegal dumping occur. And 46 new babies were born on the Isle of Man in January. 26 of those were girls and the other 20 were boys. In the latest international news now, and the Deputy UK Prime Minister is promising change and reform after announcing 7 companies are going to be investigated over the Grenfell Tower fire, which killed 72 people in West London in June 2017.
We will prioritise residents and protect their interests and make sure that industry builds safe homes.
The UK government has accepted an inquiry's findings that systematic dishonesty contributed to the disaster. Reports found the Metropolitan Police needs to improve how it handles cases involving missing children. Inspectors say Britain's biggest force is missing too many opportunities. It follows of lines of inquiry. And the disastrous Fire Festival is making a comeback almost a decade since its co-organiser Billy McFarland was convicted for fraud. Guests back in 2017 were promised a 5-star experience, but that never materialised. Those are the updated news headlines, next at 6.
Go on my head. Thank you, Christian. The weather now brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Mostly cloudy with a few showers at first, some heavy at times, then largely clearing to become mostly dry with clearer skies overnight. Mainly fresh, locally strong westerly winds will veer north-northwest this evening, then ease to become moderate overnight with minimum temperatures of around 3 or 4 degrees Celsius for most places. Dry with lengthy sunny spells tomorrow, moderate to fresh northwest winds and top temperature 9 degrees. Similar on Friday, continuing dry with sunny spells, light west or southwest winds becoming moderate later in the day, temperatures rising to 9 degrees in the afternoon. Sunrise tomorrow morning will be at 12 minutes past 7 and sunset this evening is just shy of 10 to 6.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
TE Carbon provide new memorial stones, grave renovations, new inscriptions and fire hearths. Visit us at Hope Street, Castletown or at Broadway, Douglas or call 844 440. TE Carbon, here when you need us.
Most builders start with a hammer and saw. Manx Construction start with ideas and imagination. For new build, extension or home office, Manx Construction offer full service from planning to completion. Call Tony on 452 688.
We all need peace of mind. That's where Peace of Mind Manx Will Writing Services can help you. From just £149 plus VAT. Call 671 001 or go to peaceofmind.co.im.
At Bond Fabrics, we're not just a fabric shop. As well as curtains and upholstery and dress and costume fabrics, we've knitting and crocheting wools, made-to-measure curtain and blind service, plus poles and tracks. Visit Strand Street, Douglas, call 611856 or see bondfabrics.im.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Yes, indeed, and the time now is 5:05. If you were listening to this week's sitting of the House of Keys, you'll know members voted to return 3 amendments on the Assisted Dying Bill back to the Legislative Council. Another amendment, which was suggested by MLCs, was amended itself and was also sent back down to the lower house. So what happens now? Will it be a back and forth between the Keys and the Council? John Moss asked the bill's mover, Ramsey MHK Alex Allinson.
We rejected 3 because we felt that they weren't right. One, particularly in terms of the residency criteria, the House of Keys and in fact the committee set up to look at the bill were quite clear that need to be extended past the 12 months. So what happens now is those changes that we proposed and those ones that we've rejected need to go back to the Legislative Council, and they need to consider those, particularly in light of the debate we've had this morning.
Is this going to be a table tennis match? Is it going to be bouncing back and forth?
I hope not. I think the House of Keys was quite clear in those amendments that they didn't accept, and explained why in a coherent way. So I hope the Legislative Council will take that on board and agree with the House of Keys. Should they disagree, then I'd be keen on setting up a bit of a conference, which is part of our parliamentary process, to sit around the table and try to work out how we can achieve consensus on this, because it's important, I think, that the bill goes forward after the considerable amount of time that we've been discussing it.
But it's possible that they could say, yes, okay, we accept that.
Absolutely. We live in a democracy, and what we need is consensus across both chambers on such an important bill.
Peter Greenhill, is it likely Legco will just fair game? Yes, okay, we accept what the Keys have said.
They'll have a look at it, but I think now that movement has gone forward, I think they will accept those. But that's down to the people that will be there, because I won't be there next week.
Yes. Are you going to miss it all?
Oh, you could say that, but no. I think I've done my stint. And that 5 years has been important, especially the things that have gone on in that 5 years. And I've got other things to do, which will involve the island in a big way, so we'll see.
But this is a major piece of legislation for you to bow out of.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's been very important to me as an individual, but working with Dr. Allinson on it, he's done a fantastic job. And to get that bill through, because there's always going to be people who, quite rightly, will say, I don't agree with this, but we've got the right result through here, and I'm sure that will be put into law very, very quickly.
Retiring Legco member Peter Greenhill, who moved the Assisted Dying Bill in Legco, and Dr. Alex Allinson speaking to John Moss there. The time now approaching 5:08. Manx Care's new medical director will take up his post with the island's healthcare provider next month, as Sian Calper reports.
Dr Chris Stockport joins the board from Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board in North Wales, where he's currently a GP and Executive Director of Primary and Community Care. The role has been carried out by interim Dr Marina Hudson since April 2023, after previous medical director Dr Sri Andol was seconded to a UK hospital before leaving the organisation last summer. Manx Care's chair, Professor Wendy Reid, paid tribute to Dr Hudson at the body's most recent board meeting, thanking her for her work as interim.
I just want to thank Marina, because I think this is your last board in public in your interim medical director role. So thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you for being generous with your time and explaining systems to me when I arrived. I'm delighted you're not leaving the organisation. You'll be going back to your true passion, your specialty background. But I think the board would like to express its thanks to you formally, and we look forward to seeing you in other roles in the future.
Professor Reid also highlighted how Dr Stockport's previous experience fits with the board's current work.
Our focus at that meeting was around the GIRFT programme, Getting It Right First Time programme. And I'm pleased to say he's a real enthusiast and has done a considerable amount of work in that space. So that fits into our quality improvement aspirations.
Sian Calper there with that report. Now, is there enough for young people to do in Onken? One local commissioner says the board needs to be doing more to provide outlets and opportunities. Scott Wilson says he would like to expand the youth club there, for one, to stop children and teenagers turning to criminal behaviour.
Well, across the village, there's quite a few different groups and clubs and little societies that are available for children of all ages. Primarily, I know that we'd spoken about this previously at a board meeting, and that is for young or older children, or young people, should I say, that use the likes of Kenyon's Youth Club. They've got those that are engaged with the Silver Band.
So what is it that you would like to see more of then in Onken?
Well, I can obviously speak for me as a commissioner, not on behalf of the board, and that is I've had quite a few, in fact quite a lot, of parents contacting me with regards to the fact that their children have got nothing to do, and we're talking about year 11s, like the first couple of years of secondary school, and there's literally nothing for them to do. And I'm aware that you put an article out not so long ago talking to children, and they were saying there is nothing for them to do. And similarly, we know that if you engage children, that they're less likely to sort of be involved with antisocial behaviour and crime. But the thing is, it's not really that they're being disruptive, it's just the fact they have nothing to do, and we've heard that from them directly and their parents.
Have you got anything in mind that you'll be putting forward to the board?
I think it's something the board needs to discuss more widely, but saying that, there has been discussions that we have had more recently about Kenyans, because, it's an excellent provision within the village itself. Lots of children engage there, lots of children attend. However, it's a very, very small space, and as a commissioner, again, not speaking on behalf of the board, I'm very much in the mindset of expanding that space so they can take more children, because currently they've got high numbers and the space doesn't accommodate all of them. And again, my view is if you engage children, make them belong to something, be engaged with other children, that sort of thing, it does reduce any chance of antisocial behaviour. It gives them a sense of belonging, gives them a sense of identity, and it's a good thing for the community.
Onken Commissioner Scott Wilson speaking to local democracy reporter Emma Draper.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
The Isle of Man's first major survey on artificial intelligence has revealed that while AI is becoming more common in workplaces, there are still gaps in training, awareness and policy development. The research gathered responses from over 600 residents, with a focus on those in employment. Joining me now to go through the key findings of this survey is Christian Jones. Christian, what does this report tell us about AI adoption in the workplace?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways is that AI is already being used in many organisations, particularly in areas like IT, marketing and research. The survey found that 52% of managerial staff say AI is being used to some extent in their workplace, compared to 43% of all employees. But despite this, only 26% of businesses actually have a formal AI strategy, and nearly a third, 30%, have no AI strategy at all.
So it sounds like it's making its way into businesses, but not necessarily in a structured way. What about the differences in how it's being used across different age groups?
Well, there's a clear generational divide. Younger professionals, those aged between 16 and 39, are the most engaged, with 48% saying AI is used in their workplace. That drops slightly to 42% for the 40 to 64 age group and falls even further to just 34% for those aged 65 and over. Managers are also far more likely to use AI regularly, 55% compared to just 32% of non-managers.
And it can't be easy to use. So what about training? Are people getting the support they need to use this technology effectively?
Well, not really. Despite AI's increasing presence in the workplace, only 15% of employees have actually received any formal AI training. But there's clear appetite to learn more. 41% of respondents say they'd like to get a better understanding of AI, particularly younger workers and those in management too. There's also some uncertainty, with 21% of employees saying they don't even know where their organisation stands on AI.
And we're told this is supposed to make us more productive. So what about its impact? Are people actually finding that AI does make them more productive?
Well, the majority do. 65% of respondents say AI has improved their productivity, and 26% even reported a significant improvement. On the flip side, though, only 4% said AI had a negative impact, and AI use is becoming more routine. 51% of employees say they use it at least once a week, especially for things like automation, content generation, and data processing.
Of course, there are always concerns with new technologies. What are people worried about when it comes to AI?
Well, the biggest concern is privacy, particularly around AI using personal data without consent. Job security is also a key issue, with 34% worried that AI could put their role at risk. And younger employees, interestingly, are the most concerned about AI replacing jobs, with 13% of those in the 16 to 39 age group expressing that fear. There are also concerns around bias in the AI decision-making process. That was highlighted by 45% of respondents.
Christian Jones there. Thank you for joining us. And also joining us now in the studio is Simon Richardson, because earlier this week you might have heard some rumours about the future of the steam packet freight vessel MV Arrow. We did approach the steam packet at the time, and just now we've had an update about the future of that liner. Simon, what are those details?
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. The news just in fact, within the last couple of minutes. The steam packet secured a long-term charter for the Arrow. She'll operate in the Channel Islands, where it's already apparently quite a familiar sight, for 12 months with the international ferry operator DFDS. Now, it's expected the vessel will predominantly operate on the Jersey to Portsmouth route. The arrangement will come into effect on the 24th of March, after which she'll undertake port trials and pilotage before entering regular service. Under the terms of the agreement, of course, that's the Sea Services Agreement, once Manxman joined the fleet, conventional RoPax vessel Ben McCree became the designated fleet backup. Arrow, though, will remain in Douglas for now until Ben McCree's current dry dock period is completed. It will then proceed to Teesside for its own dry docking before going to work with DFDS.
I know a lot of people will be very interested in that story and the future movements of the MV Arrow. 12-month charter, Simon. Do you remember in recent times a charter going on for that long?
I don't actually, but of course from the steam packet's point of view, this will be obviously good solid income. We don't know exactly how much is involved, but for them obviously it seems like quite a good deal. Managing Director Brian Thompson commented that they're pleased to have secured a long-term charter with a renowned international operator, which gives them security while the future fleet strategy is agreed with stakeholders.
Simon Richardson, thank you. We'll have all those details up on manxradio.com shortly.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, we'll head over to the roads now. In Santon, temporary lights on the new Castletown Road between Ballyvarton and Mount Murray for resurfacing. In Douglas, temporary lights on Lord Street for the demolition of the old Salvation Army building there. In Peel, there are restrictions on the promenade between the bottom of Stanley Road and Walpole Road for demolition work as well. In Sulby, until the 2nd of March, temporary lights on the Sulby Strait, 24 hours a day for sewer repairs there. Over at the airport, all inbound and outbound flights expected to be on time this evening, and it's the same story over on the sailings. No doubt at all on the upcoming schedule this week, and looking out the window, can't see it yet, but Manxman due to arrive back into Douglas in around 10 minutes' time, having departed from Heysham at 1:45 this afternoon.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
And the time now, 18 minutes past 5. A wheelchair user with MS is calling for better support after being stuck in bed all weekend after his electric wheelchair began to fall apart. Phil Plant says he asked Manx Care for help, but was told there's no repair service at weekends, so he had to wait until Monday. That meant he couldn't move, eat, or even change his catheter for 2 days. He told Christian Jones that he's had problems before, and he believes disabled people are being let down.
They brought me a new wheelchair out, but by the next day, it had all come loose and everything. The right-hand side carries all electrics, all the controls, if you like, that makes you go forward, back, up and down, sideways, everything. It's really good that way, but it's not good if it doesn't work. I fend for myself. I've never had cooks, so I wished I could afford them. But I mean, it's so expensive today to get cover or anybody come and help you. And I can't afford it. So I have to struggle on by myself because the wheelchair broke and it never come, the handle come off it or the side wing come off it. I just had to lie in my bed.
This isn't the first time that you've had issues with the wheelchair?
I thought we had it sorted from last year when I made the complaint. Exactly the same things, and same fellas come out today, and I feel really, really, really let down, by the Manx government. I know we've had hard times, but why should the disabled people suffer from it? Sure, we've got rights in this world as well as everybody else. I'd like to see some sort of cover over the weekends for wheelchairs. They don't have to stand about and wait, but all we need is a telephone number. We can phone this number, and whoever it is who's on call or whatever could then say, okay, Mr. Plant, we'll come out and see you now, or we'll see, what is your problem? Sometimes probably they could even talk on the phone and tell us what to do to put things right. It does affect our quality of life, especially when we know we've got it.
Phil Plant there, who we wish the very best. Well, Manx Care, in response, says, naturally, we regret that one of our service users has not had the level of response they expected, despite the appropriate and timely support given over recent weeks. We will be investigating the matter with those concerned, Manx Care says. 21 minutes past 5. Manx residents are in for a treat this week as 4 planets will be visible to the naked eye. They're Mercury, Venus, Mars and Jupiter. And on Friday, the new moon joins them in what's being described as a planetary and lunar conjunction. Howard Parkin, MBE from Astro Manx, says it's best to look to the skies just after sunset, as that's when it will be best to spot Mercury.
Slowly but surely, over a course of days, the moon will slowly pass from the area of the sky where Jupiter is, then to where Venus first, then Jupiter, and then Mars. So you'll get what we call a planetary and a lunar conjunction. Whilst not of any great scientific interest, it is spectacular to see if we're fortunate enough to get some clear skies. The other thing we've got, and this is I won't say exceptional, but quite rare, we've also got, joining the 3 planets and the moon, we've got the planet Mercury. Now, Mercury is very difficult to spot. It's the nearest planet to the sun, and as a consequence, it doesn't get far away from the sun. It's only ever seen in a light sky. And what you need to find Mercury is another object. Well, we've got 2 for you. We've got Venus, which will be directly above Mercury, and the new moon. Now, the new moon changes obviously quite quickly as it transits across the sky. But you're going to have Venus above the western horizon, below it close to the horizon, and you're probably going to need a pair of binoculars or a small telescope to see that. But you could possibly get to see Mercury, Venus, Jupiter and Mars and the moon literally in one evening. And Mercury is very quick. It goes around the sun very quickly, so it will disappear very quickly. So we'll probably by about Monday, it'll be gone, but the other 3 will remain there.
How often is it that we can spot 5 or 4 planets and the moon in a line?
Not often like this. And what happens, the planets change position all the time. And sometimes there's none visible at all in our evening sky. Sometimes they're all in the morning. And then other times there'll be gaps when you don't see any at all because they're only visible, they're close to the sun and therefore not visible. It's not really unusual. It does come around quite frequently. And Jupiter and Venus will be very close to each other again in the sky in 2026. But you don't normally get them joined by Mars as well, because Mars only comes around every 2 years. So the cycle changes quite dramatically. But hey, I always say to people, don't worry about what causes it, just enjoy it.
Well, I'll certainly be keeping an eye out on Friday. Howard Parkin there from Astro Manx speaking to Chanel. You can listen to the full interview at manxradio.com. Just bring you a reminder from Manx Care that there'll be a planned water outage on the west wing of Noble's Hospital today. It will remain in place from 9 o'clock this evening until 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. Manx Care says the outage will affect both ground and first floors up to but not including the staff restaurant on the first floor and radiology on the ground floor. The east wing will not be affected. From 8 o'clock tonight, the radiology waiting room will be used instead of the emergency department waiting room to ensure access to toilet facilities. Normal services will remain in operation with contingency measures in place to minimise disruption. All the details, including a handy map, I believe, available on Manx Care's Facebook page.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
And the time now is coming up to 5:25, and we'll join Manx Radio sports editor Rob Pritchard with a look at today's sports news. Faster my, Rob.
Faster my, Lewis. Starting with cricket, Peel and St John's have completed their first ever European Cricket League campaign this afternoon. Their final two matches at Cartama Oval in Spain took place today in the Group A eliminator matches. It was a great start in Game 1 for the Islanders as they beat Romanian side ACC Bucharest by 87 runs. Well, during that there were star batting displays from Andrew Clark and Eddie Beard, who managed 73 runs and 67 runs respectively. However, the tournament would end with defeat in the second qualifier against French side Dreux. The Island outfit's opponents took victory by 7 wickets, chasing down Peel and St John's total of 87 inside 4.5 overs. Well, previously this week, Peel and St John's had finished 4th out of the 5 teams in their group, with 2 wins and 2 defeats during the group phase. Elsewhere, Isle of Man professional boxer Matthew Rennie has confirmed he'll be back in action for his first bout of 2025 next month. After suffering his first pro defeat in the sport nearly 3 months ago, Magic Rennie will return to the ring at Europa Point Arena in Gibraltar on Saturday, the 29th of March. His opponent for the event is yet to be confirmed. Well, the Island-born fighter will be hoping to avenge a points loss to Sean Noakes when both faced off for the English welterweight title at Wembley Arena in London on the 7th of December 2024. That result is the only major blemish on Rennie's pro record to date, which also includes 14 wins and 1 draw. And Michael Dunlop looks set to take part in this year's Daytona 200 race in the USA early next month. The Ballymoney man, who became the most successful TT rider of all time last year, is on the entry list for the Supersport class for the 2025 meeting. He's scheduled to ride a Ducati Panigale V2 under the Milwaukee Ducati MD Racing banner. Well, the 29-time TT winner is one of multiple British road racers on the Supersport roster, with fellow TT star Peter Hickman and Northwest 200 competitor Richard Cooper, both competing on PHR Performance Triumph machinery, as well as Sam West on the Hot Sauce Racing Kawasaki. Well, Dunlop made his Daytona 200 debut in 2021, finishing 11th on a Kawasaki 636. This year's event at Daytona International Speedway begins on Thursday the 6th of March, with the race itself 2 days later on Saturday the 8th of March.
Rob Pritchard there with today's sporting news. Guru Mayed. And that's it for Update tonight. Howard Kane is up next with Spotlight, and Chris Kinley is back at 6:30 with Greatest Hits. 6 o'clock, in fact, with Greatest Hits. Stick around for that. Thank you for joining us. Update will be back at the same time tomorrow.